Cool. So I feel like every sort of Marvel film has a slightly different sort of tone and even a visual look and that sort of thing. I mean, what was your mission statement sort of setting out with Thor Dark World?
On this one, it was really to build off of the foundation of what we'd done in the first movie, introducing Asgard to audiences for the first time, some of the other 9 realms that exist within the Thor mythology. But what we wanted to do this time was make it all feel a little more real, a little more lived in. So from the costume design to the production design to the sets, we made it all a little more textured, a little more real, and hiring our new director, Alan Taylor, was a big part of that because he had great experience in some of his television work, most famously Game of Thrones, of doing location work. We went to Iceland on this film, Norway, shot here in London, and then put the effects on top of that. So it doesn't feel like it was entirely created in a computer, because it wasn't, because so much of it is actually the real world.
Yeah, I appreciated that you didn't destroy all of London in this film, unlike some other...
Tiny bit, just a tiny bit.
So it's a really small amount, yeah. I mean, it does feel more sort of urban, I guess, as opposed to New Mexico, which has more of a deserty sort of...
Well, it's exactly right, and we wanted obviously Earth is always going to play a huge part in any Thor film, and we had been in New Mexico in the first one. We wanted to go to a more populated area. We wanted to endanger lots of people so that Thor could come and save lots of people. And London just felt like a wonderful place, not just because it's incredibly cinematic no matter where you point the camera in the city, but because of its history. You know, there's some scenes that take place in Stonehenge, and that sort of loose connection to the mythology and the Norse mythology and all of those things that Thor is tangentially a part of seem to fit quite well here in London.
Absolutely, yeah. And I mean, without spoiling there is obviously a cameo in this film, which is fantastic.
Yes,
and is that sort of something that you think you'll continue doing with just as a little linking device between the sort of standalone films?
We love to link them together. We love that now audiences accept and understand the concept of a cinematic universe, which was not the case when we started working on the first Iron Man film. There had never been anything like that. Now audiences expect it and want it, and the key for us is to find a fun way to do it, and to find a way that doesn't distract necessarily from the story at hand, but can help add to it. And the cameo that you mentioned, I think, is fun and is a nod to the other movies, but is ultimately a very, very sort of poignant character moment for one of the main characters of this film.
Yeah, definitely. Can I ask you a little bit about the other Phase 2 films you have coming up? So obviously Captain America, Winter Soldier is next, and I know at Comic-Con there was quite a bit of talk about how it's a more morally grey sort of universe than the first.
It is. You know, the first Captain America film, the first Avenger, was a period piece. It took place in the 1940s, which is where Steve Rogers' origin was. He wanted to join the fight in World War II. Of course, he's in the modern day now. We saw a little bit of that in Avengers. This is now how he struggles in this new world, in this contemporary time. And that gave us the opportunity to essentially do an entirely different kind of movie. If the first film was a throwback to the 40s war genre, this is very much a political thriller against the backdrop of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Washington, D.C. And I love that because just when people think they can figure out, oh, we know what a Captain America movie is, no, you don't. We know what a comic book movie is, no, you don't. We want to keep expanding what the definitions of the comic book genre can be.
Yeah, sure. And then Guardians looks like another really sort of different step. Obviously.
Yes, so next year, starting with The Familiar, with Captain America, and doing new things with him, Guardians of the Galaxy, an entirely new group of characters. We find ourselves in a place that we like being, which is most people have never heard of Guardians of the Galaxy. Just as when we started doing Iron Man, other than comic book fans, most people had never heard of Iron Man. And they go, he's a robot, he wears a suit of armor, what is this? Same way with Guardians of the Galaxy. It's a team-based film. There's a human, there's a green person, there's a raccoon, there's a tree. What the heck is this? That excites us a lot because we love to sort of exceed expectations. And the comic book Guardians and the concepts within it, the cast that we've assembled, we've just finished filming here in London about a week ago, and we're very, very proud of where it's heading.
Fantastic, yeah. And then obviously Phase 2 kind of culminates in another familiar-ish one with...
Avengers Age of Ultron is coming up in 2015. We're in pre-production on that now. Joss is working on the script. We're also here in London in pre-production to start filming that early next year. And then after Avengers, Edgar Wright is finally bringing Ant-Man to the screen. It has been in development longer than any other project in the history of Marvel Studios. It's been almost 8 years, I think, since he first came in and pitched that to us. And everything happens, when it should. So we're excited about where it's headed.
Yeah, definitely. Do you think it's likely that there'll be any London sort of sequences in Avengers 2 in the same way that it's used in Thor?
Avengers 2 is going to be very global. Yes, much more global than the first film. And I don't want to say exactly what cities, but it's going to take place. There's going to be some globe trotting in the next Avengers film.
Fantastic.